wish to speak to any item on the agenda or during the public comment portion of the meeting, please fill out a speaker card. Each person addressing the board shall have 3 minutes to complete his or her comments on each agenda item for which he or she has filled out a card. The chair has the discretion to determine or alter the time limits on any agenda item. The Board of County Commissioners requests that speakers appearing under the public comment section of the agenda limit their comments or presentations to matters relating to county business that are within the board's control, authority, and jurisdiction.
Well, good evening and welcome to the first budget hearing on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. And I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I would like to start with an invocation by Donnie Legg. Donnie, if you'd come up, please.
Okay, let's play. Father, we're so humbled and thankful that we live in a society here in Brevard County that still realizes that we need you. And so we come before your throne because the things we cannot do, we know you do. And we can only give you praise for. You're a good God, you're a holy God, you're a just God, and you're a sovereign God. Nothing ever catches you by surprise, and that's why we can trust you. And so, Father, all things we lay in your hands. Father, I'm so thankful that you're a God that tells us to bring all of our care before you because you care for us. And oh, how you demonstrate that. And so, Father, I come today lifting up our officiates, our leaders today that have been elected to the position they have. And Father, they represent us. And I know, Father, that that's a heavy burden a lot of times to realize the people you represent and how they're relying upon you. And so, Father, I pray for our leaders before me. Father, oftentimes our community sees them as nothing but government officials. But Father, they are so much more. They have the burden of that, but they also have families. They're human with human emotions. They have families that are often sick, ill, and even diseased that they care and worry about. And yet, Father, they still have the burden of so many others on their shoulders. And so may we not forget that, Father, as we lift them up to you. I pray for Kathy Lively, Father, that the job that she does, just coordinating everything. Thank you for the wisdom you give her and the stamina to keep on keeping on. So, Father, even the people behind me today, I pray they'll realize that they're dealing today with human beings that care for them or they wouldn't have the position they have. And so may we care back by praying for them and asking you to strengthen them in their minds as they make decisions and in their bodies as well. And Father, we'll just thank you for the accomplishment of this meeting today. Job said that every breath is a gift from you. And as I studied that, Father, and saw, we each individuals take just under 26,000 breaths every single day. Father, may we honor you with those breaths. When we speak, may we speak recognizing that you are to be honored. And we'll give you the praise for the outcome of this meeting. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Donnie, we are definitely blessed with Kathy Lively. We appreciate you mentioning that today. Kathy. Okay, could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Tom Goodson?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to go to agenda item D1. And Frank?
Yeah.
If you take it, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item D1 allows for the reading of the tentative aggregate operating millage rate to fund the portion of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget that is supported by property taxes. At this time, I'd ask the Budget Office to read into the record the tentative aggregate millage rate for fiscal year 2024-25.
Jill?
Chair and Board of County Commissioners, the aggregate tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2024-2025 budget is 4.4390. The tentative aggregate millage rate represents no change when compared to the aggregate rolled back rate of 4.4390. The tentative aggregate millage rate represents a 4.3% reduction when compared to the current fiscal year 2023-2024 aggregate millage rate of 4.6383.
Okay, there'll be no vote required for this item, but Jill, could you tell me when the next budget hearing is going to be?
Yes, the final budget hearing will be 2 weeks from tonight, so that's on September 24th at 5:30.
So exception of some of these items tonight can be changed on that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item D2, Frank, please.
D2 allows for the public to comment on the revised tentative county budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Before we begin public comment, I'd ask the budget office to read into the record the revised tentative budget information.
The fiscal year 2024-2025 tentative budget is $2,250,925,875. This budget represents an increase of $100,817,548, or 4.69% more than the fiscal year 2023-2024 current budget of $2,150,108,327.
Okay, thank you very much. We have some cards here tonight. Thank you. Jack Meglio.
Hello.
Hi, Jack.
Hi. Thank you all for having me up here. I don't want to take too much of your time. Some of the things I just want to address from the fire rescue side is that, we have a budget problem, which doesn't allow us to provide for a proper amount of ambulances, especially in South Brevard County, where a bulk of citizens live. Whether it's incorporated or not, we need additional rescues. I don't have a number. I would not know that number, but we definitely need more ambulances for the call volume that's been increasing. The current budget doesn't allow for those additional units. If the taxes were set appropriately, the services could be met with where they need to be at. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your comments. Okay, Michael Bramson. Come on up, Michael.
Good evening, and thank you, Chairperson and the Board. My name is Mike Bramson. I'm the President of the Brevard County Firefighters. I live in Altamont Springs. This 24-25 budget that is before you does create an insufficient amount of funds to correctly fund and provide public safety services. In the public safety sector in which I work, specifically in the field of fire and rescue, the dual certified firefighter paramedic is the standard of service. That is a person who has achieved the state of Florida certification for firefighting and the state of Florida certification in the field of paramedicine. This model allows one person who sits at a relative constant state of readiness to conduct care with a wide scope of skills. In April 2014, Brevard County had 255 of these firefighter paramedics out of 453 personnel. In April of 2024, a decade later of this year, Brevard County only had 162 firefighter paramedics with a field of 483. The current budgetary practices will continue to reduce the skills and professional services provided to Brevard County and its cities. The service is only provided by Brevard County. No city provides a service for an emergent care to transport a human being to the hospital. These reductions and budgets affect every single person in Brevard County, not just unincorporated. These communities have the right to know that the continued discounts, rollbacks, exclusions, and other budgetary restrictions continue to reduce the services across Brevard County. Thank you very much. And I have that.
Thank you. Ryan is it Barrick. Okay. Hey, Ryan. Good to see you again.
Good evening. Ryan Barrick. I'm a resident of Port St. John. I stand before you tonight as a tax-paying resident of District 1 and I reject your proposed 24-25 budget, as it does not adequately support public safety. Public safety and infrastructure are the very core of government function. It's my opinion that this local government does not prioritize its revenue sources and spending effectively or efficiently. No one could have predicted the inflation that we were subject to during COVID. But refusal or inability to adapt to that inflation has put public safety into a bad position. The fire assessment increase from 3 years ago came up incredibly short. In some cases, capital outlay projects have been deferred, enhanced infrastructure to meet the needs of the growing community has been tabled, and employee attrition hovers around 7 field personnel per month. You're losing 7 firefighters per month. This year's projection of field certified employee turnover in fire rescue is between 82 and 85. With the fourth quarter still ahead of us, we have already surpassed last year's attrition in fire rescue with the loss of 62 field personnel. The attrition is costly and inefficient as it leads to an excess of $2 million annually spent on training replacements. We have celebrated a sponsorship program which will cost in excess of $250,000 annually to help fill our vacancies, while applications from certified personnel has slowed to a trickle. To my knowledge, no other department under the board is slinging scholarships like the NCAA. The theory of sponsorship opportunities for low-income residents is a beautiful idea. However, the future staffing of a government agency probably should not rely so heavily on this concept. The happy medium between new hire and experienced mentors that traditionally takes place in the fire service is being disrupted as BCFR's seasoned personnel are leaving for greener pastures at a rate of 7 per month, only to be replaced by youth and inexperience to serve the residents. I believe you have been deceived that fire rescue attrition is on par with the turnover observed with the other departments under the board. However, the cost for replacing firefighters or deputies in lieu of retaining them is like no other. The brain drain and loss of experience in public safety from attrition cannot be quantified, but I assure you its effects are profound. Experienced firefighters and deputies are absolutely invaluable to our community and its policymakers. I hope it becomes the highest of your future priorities. The residents of Brevard are not getting the ROI they deserve on their tax dollars. Please stop the bleeding. On this evening, before the anniversary of the worst terrorist attacks in our country's history, I will use the remainder of my time so we can all reflect with a moment of silence to recognize the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice on 9/11.
Thank you so very much. Sandra Sullivan.
Good evening, Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. We have a public safety crisis. Please reject this budget because you have not addressed the crisis. Fire EMS are leaving because there is about a $30,000 gap between what other comparable counties are offering at year 10. And while a 33% fire assessment was done in 2021 to bring staff more in line with comparables, this has not been happening because you're using a disproportionate amount of this to address the cost of growth and additional equipment. You need to offset that by increasing both fire and impact fees. So this graph, 2022, $620,000, fiscal 25 to 28, $30 million. This shows the graph in your budget showing the increase in cost of both fire trucks and ambulances. You have done nothing to avert the crisis. We have lost over 60 fire EMS personnel and expected that 40 more will leave by the end of the year. This will create a critical level of service failure because you do not have the people to man the stations. But you can fix the budget now. Restore the EMS assessment non-ad valorem tax countywide that existed prior to 1998. This can be done now via interlocal agreements with cities like stormwater. Prior to 1998, there was a non-ad valorem tax EMS assessment on the property tax for unincorporated. This needs to be restored Brevard County-wide now and doesn't require a referendum. The 1998 referendum proves that residents of Brevard County support county-wide EMS transport services, but later a lawsuit required EMS tax must be non-ad valorem. So this was the referendum. And I checked with our supervisor of elections, and it was countywide. And wording from here, the EMS special assessment shall be imposed on all improved real property, and the benefit unit of such real property is blah, 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 blah. In 2004, there was a lawsuit that said you can't have it under ad valorem taxes. Right now, you still have the EMS under ad valorem taxes under general fund, and it is not sufficient to cover the cost of EMS. And that is obvious by calculations. So it's a pretty simple service. Please reject this budget and correct the funding issue for our firefighters. In addition, please look at impact fees and appropriately address that as well. Otherwise, the future does not look good for public safety. What is public safety worth to you?
Thank you. Okay, we have no more on that particular agenda item. I do have a question for the county manager, though. What is our fire fee now for new homes?
Well, on the average, it's in the area, I believe, about $250 for an average home.
Okay. I find that extremely low. I think most of the surrounding counties are 500 or 1,000. But anyway, that's something we can talk about at some other time. Anybody else have any questions before I move on to next? There's no required vote on this at this particular point in time.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And this, I think, probably was a little bit before your time up here, but we had a city council member from West Melbourne, and we provide fire services to West Melbourne. And he got up here and he spoke that if the fire fees increased anymore, that they would look at going in a different direction. I know they had done a little bit of, they'd hired a service to figure out what that cost would be. I just want to put that out there that, again, that person may not be in West Melbourne anymore, but that was certainly something that West Melbourne was looking at breaking away if we raise the fees anymore. So that certainly was something that
thank you for
we
the
need to be
input.
mindful of.
Appreciate it. I think we can have further discussions at the final meeting and see where we're going to go with this.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
May I make a clarification?
Absolutely.
Earlier, you asked whether you could make a change at the final adoption budget hearing, and I just wanted to clarify that the final millage rate at the adoption hearing cannot exceed what you approved today as the tentative millage rate.
And you have to add that the fire assessment is a separate item. That's not even part of that.
That's not part of the discussion today. I'm just talking about the millages because earlier you asked whether that could be revisited.
Okay, the millage rate,
adoption hearing.
the millage rate cannot be revisited,
It could be changed downward, but not upward from what is tentatively approved.
but the fire budget could be changed at the second.
Not the fire assessment cannot be raised, no.
The fire what?
The fire assessment,
I'm not talking about the fire assessment, I'm talking about the fire budget.
the general fund portion could be.
Okay, that's all I
That
needed
would
to
be
know.
up
Is
to
there's
the
a way
board.
to go up if we wanted to after the final vote on September 10th. Am I hearing this correctly?
Yes, with the understanding that the general fund only pays 45%. The rest of the fire budget, 55%, whether it's capital or staffing, is paid by the fire assessment, which you cannot adjust at this time.
Okay, one last question. How to adjust it? You can't do it at this time, but how are we going to, if we wanted to adjust the fire assessment, what process is that? Or would you like to talk to me about that later?
Sure.
All right, as
Happy
long
to
as I
go
can
through
get an
that.
understanding of
Yeah.
what can be done there, because I think it's incredibly low, but that's neither here nor there. Let's move forward if we can. Agenda item D, Frank, please. D3.
Item D3 is it's recommended that the board discuss and tentatively adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 millage rates. Any changes to the millage rates under this item would be recomputed and announced under item D4.
Okay. Jill, you have no comments on this one?
No.
No? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we need to require a vote on this, to tentatively adopt the fiscal 2024 millage rates. Is there a motion or discussion? Any questions, or do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
The motion to approve by Commissioner Tobias, seconded by Commissioner Feltner. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Okay, item D4. Frank?
Thank you. For item D4, based on the approved changes in millage rates that were approved on agenda item D3, I will now ask the Budget Office to read into the record the revised aggregate millage rates.
The aggregate rolled back rate for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget is 4.4390, and the aggregate tentative millage rate for fiscal year 24-25 is 4.4390. So the tentative aggregate millage rate is equal to the aggregate rolled back rate.
Okay, no vote required on this item. Any cards? Seeing no cards, let's go to agenda item D5. Frank, please.
Thank you. Item D5, in accordance with the Brevard County Code of Ordinances, I'm requesting adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budgets for the following agencies: Solid Waste, Stormwater Utility Department, Fire Services Non-Ad Valorem Assessment, Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District.
Okay, there's a required vote on this. There's no cards on it. Do we have to take these individually, or can we do them all at once?
You can do them at once.
All at once.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the solid waste management, the stormwater utility department, the fire service non-ad valorem assessment, the Melbourne-Tillman water control district? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion by Commissioner Tobias to approve, seconded by Commissioner Feltner. Any discussion? And
Goodson was the
Okay.
second, sir. I'm sorry.
that's okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. All right, agenda item D6, utility services. Frank, please.
Under this item, we're requesting that the governing body of the Barefoot Bay Water and Sewer District approve a resolution adopting the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025.
All right, is there a motion to approve, or is there any discussion in regards to this issue?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Tobias moves to approve. Commissioner Goodson, you second that? Yes, I'll second. Commissioner Goodson will second it. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Agenda item D7. Frank, please.
Under D7, based on the action taken during this public hearing, I'm now going to ask the Budget Office to read into the record the revised tentative budget for fiscal year 2024-2025.
The revised tentative budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 is $2,250,925,875. This revised tentative budget represents an increase of 4.69%, or $100,817,548 from the current budget of $2,150,108,327.
And Commissioners, I'm requesting tentative approval of a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2024-2025 Brevard County budget.
Okay, I believe we have some cards here. Katie Delaney.
Good evening, everybody. So this budget, I would have really loved for a little bit more public participation. In our budget workshop in February, a lot of people were really upset that they weren't able to comment on each individual item. There was only one portion at the end where people could comment. And since a workshop is supposed to be, a place where we talk out different objections or suggestions, it would have been nice to have more time for the public to have more input. Also, it would have been nice to, because that wasn't afforded to us in February, it would have been nice to have like a workshop or something where citizens could have had like a Q&A session about, how does this whole thing even work? More people want to be engaged in government now, and a lot of people don't know how and why and all of those things. So it would have been nice to have something for the public to get more engaged with. And then, moreover, I'm asking for you all to deny this budget, because the budget was put together prior to finding out what the needs were for public safety. And as you heard tonight, there is a serious need, which you all know. I love the conversation that was had up here today, but I wish that it would have happened in February, when these things could have been changed, when it wasn't so late. We have the 1998 referendum for fire rescue, and that right there just shows that the people in Brevard value our firefighters. They value our fire rescue staff. And so going forward, I hope that that is a top priority that this board focuses on. And yeah, also, I'd like to comment on impact fees. This week when I was here for the planning and zoning meeting, I was sitting next to a man, and he leans over and tells me that he's a developer. And he said, Brevard County has the lowest impact fees from anybody around. And this is from a developer's mouth. He said, we need to update our impact fees. So, I mean, that's a pretty big statement coming from a guy who has to pay them. So if we could take that into account moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delaney. Okay, Sandra Sullivan.
Sandra Sullivan. So I would like to also agree with what Katie said about the comments at the workshop. They were not afforded on each presentation. We were only allowed 3 minutes at the end. And in fact, a vote was taken under one of them, contrary to state law, which requires public comment before a vote is taken. I would like to also add that the subject by myself was brought up about impact fees. For fire and EMS in particular, they have not been updated in 32 years, while the graphs I presented show that just the cumulative cost, this is in your budget, this is cumulative cost increases of ambulances and fire trucks. Transportation, this is infrastructure. This is, again, what it's costing you for growth. And what I see is the 2021 33% increase on fire assessment. So much of that is going to address growth and not to the promise that was made to the citizens of Brevard County and in the agenda item that would go and address to retain our firefighters and our personnel. So we're taking from Peter to pay Paul. Honestly speaking, we've kicked the can down the road on impact fees for so long, and because of the constraints now by the state, so it'd be good to lobby to the state to fix that. We've kicked that can down the road so long that even fixing impact fees will not fix or avert the crisis that Brevard is facing. We're looking at pretty significant tax increases coming in the future with, We haven't updated in transportation in 23 years with over an $800 million deficit on capacity needs. So what did you all say at the budget workshop? You said, Mr. Tobias and Pritchett said, oh, the next commissioners can worry about it. And I would like to say one other reason that I would ask you to reject this budget is I would like to see NBED sunset. It was intended to be a special district only for 5 years to tax. It's on the backs of our small businesses funding big business. And now in the latest agendas for that meeting, they want to use the tax revenue on the backs of our small businesses to fund putting sewage lines from Space Florida and the Cape to Sykes Creek. Really? I think the state can pink up, and as can the federal government, to pay for the infrastructure for state and federal jurisdictional areas and not taxing small businesses. That tax was put into place when Brevard County was in an economic recession, and we're now booming. It was supposed to be a 5-year tax. Taxes are not supposed to be forever for things like that. We would like to see some fiscal accountability and to approve, anyway, so we need to address public safety, and for that reason alone, please reject this budget.
Okay, we have no more cards. And we are on the final item. We have a motion to approve, or is there discussion?
At this point, we're up to board reports.
Okay, we're on board reports.
Yes,
Thought we
sir.
needed to.
We need a vote
we
on tentative
need a-
adoption of the,
Right, that's
Oh,
what
I'm
I
sorry.
was just saying.
or tentative approval of the,
On
On
D7?
D7,
of a
correct.
resolution
D7.
I
adopting
should
the
have said
proposed budget.
D7. Apologize. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
It's a motion by Commissioner Feltner to approve D7.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Tobias. Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, signify by saying no. Motion carries. All right, we are on board reports. And County Manager,
I do not have a report.
County Attorney,
No report, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Goodson,
No, sir, no report.
Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just got a quick employee recognition here, so I'd like to take a second and recognize Johanna George, Special Projects Coordinator 1, Public Works Engineering, 1.5 years of service. Johanna has over 10 years' experience in municipal government and over 25 years in customer service. As a Special Projects Coordinator, Johanna is the first smiling face the public sees when coming into engineering and ROW permitting. In the past year and a half, she's welcomed the opportunity to help in any task she has been assigned. Shortly after starting, Johanna was given the responsibility of tracking all 80 ROW use agreements for Public Works Department. At the time she was assigned to the task, less than 60% of the ROW use agreements had provided the required yearly insurance documentation. Johanna worked diligently with the HOAs and insurance carriers to meet 100% compliance on all current agreements. This is just one example of her hard work and dedication. Johanna is always a smile on her face and one of the most pleasant people to be around. She is an asset to the county and a prime example of what an employee should be. Fun fact, Johanna's loving husband, 2 beautiful adult daughters, and now dedicates her time to 2 very special dog babies. She enjoys traveling and shopping and relaxing with family, friends, and her coworkers. Johanna, thank you for all you do, and we appreciate your interaction with the public. Thank you so much. That's the report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Tobias. Commissioner Feltner, any report? I have no report. Is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Feltner, seconded by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The meeting is adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.